Welcome back. Today we're looking at The Midnight Train to Rest, which is a 10-minute sleep story.
Right, designed to use imagery and rhythm to guide someone to sleep.
Exactly. And what I really like about it is this commitment to stillness. That beautiful description of the train arriving, gliding on moonlight. It just creates the sense of quiet safety right away. A great foundation.
Absolutely. And with these kinds of scripts, ones that are really trying to bypass the conscious mind, every single little adjustment you make, it just makes a huge difference.
It really does. So let's jump right in. To anchor the listener more securely and keep the mind from wandering, I think the material could really benefit from more non-visual physical sensation descriptions.
That's the perfect place to start. I mean, these are for people with their eyes closed. So that internal landscape has to be richer than anything else.
And the piece already excels at visuals and sound. You've got the soft shimmering bell, the silver train, the velvet cushions. It's all there.
It sets the scene beautifully.
But we need to enhance the feeling of physical release. That sensation of the body letting go, which is just so crucial for relaxation. The physical cues right now, they're a little passive.
Building on that, what if we tried to move from that passive observation to more of an active, guided physical surrender?
Okay, tell me more.
Well, the visuals are great for setting the scene. But as you said, the moment the eyes are closed, the listener needs constant feedback that their body is safe and supported and, heavy. We need that kinesthetic language. Maybe even a little olfactory language to really maximize that gravitational pull towards rest.
I agree. The subconscious needs that confirmation that it's okay to let go. But how specific do we get with those kinesthetic cues without, making it sound like a guided meditation exercise? The tone is so gentle.
And that's where the language of weight and sinking is just paramount. The listener needs these constant, gentle cues. So for instance, where it describes the seat shaping itself to the body.
Which is the lovely image.
Yeah, it's great.
We should emphasize the feeling of the body actually growing heavy. So instead of just saying the seat shapes itself to your body, we pivot to making the listener feel it happening.
Exactly. Be more explicit. Talk about the weight of the arms, the softening of the shoulders, or that feeling of sinking down into the cushion. That repetition of down is so powerful. Kinesthetically, it just bypasses thought.
It directly addresses the feeling of gravity taking over. I say, the goal isn't just to describe the seat, but to anchor the listener's awareness inside their own body. Now, you also mentioned scent, olfactory language. Isn't that a little risky? Couldn't that pull someone out of the trance?
It's a valid concern. That's why the word is subtle. We're not talking about, fresh coffee or a strong perfume. We're talking about maybe the ghost of cedarwood or the clean scent of cold night air.
Ah, okay.
They're not intrusive. They're just suggestions to ground the internal environment. They add richness without alerting the active mind.
So it's more about atmospheric grounding than a focal point.
That's it. And finally, on this point, we should target explicit points of tension, the face, the jaw.
Places we hold stress without realizing.
Right. So explicitly mentioning things like your jaw loosens or the weight of your eyelids settles gives a clear, actionable directive. It's like a final checkpoint to make sure the listener is really on that relaxation path.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if we've secured the body with those cues, let's talk about the psychological structure. The second critique. The powerful central instruction, this journey has no destination, only rest, let go. Well, it arrives with a bit of a jolt.
Yes, this is a critical structural point. The story is doing two things, right? Building the world, then asking for surrender. And if that transition is too sharp,
you're pulled right out.
You activate your cognitive filters again. You go from just watching to having to process this deep philosophical command.
Exactly. It builds this beautiful external scene, this rhythm. The rhythm of the train becomes the rhythm of your breath. In, out. And the soft voice is a great concept, but the instruction itself feels sudden.
So, is the connection between the external scene and that internal directive fully established? I think we need to bolster that link.
Right. Right now the train is moving, scenery passes, and then suddenly there's the directive.
We should introduce the concept of letting go, or even just the presence of that voice, much earlier. Integrate it into the rhythm description before the command is ever given.
So we're building a kind of soft on-ramp to that core mantra.
An on-ramp. I like that.
But how do we do that without slowing the pacing down too much? It's a 10-minute script, pacing is everything.
It's more about extension, not deceleration. So one idea is a simple pacing adjustment. Right after it describes the rhythm of the train and breath, where it says, the gentle rocking coaxes your mind into deeper and deeper calm.
Okay.
Just prolong that section. Repeat that feeling of deeper and deeper calm 3 or 4 times. Use long, drawn-out vowels, deliberate pauses.
That extended pause, yeah, it would deepen the trance state, so the mind is already anticipating more soothing input, not a sudden command.
And we can also pre-echo the mantra. The message is no destination. So as the train moves through those quiet scenes, we can imply that they are just moments passing, without significance, without an end point.
So the scenery itself is illustrating the idea of non-attachment.
Exactly. It allows the concept to enter the listener's awareness obliquely. So when the explicit instruction comes, it just feels like an affirmation of what they're already feeling.
It becomes the culmination of the imagery, not a disruption. That's a brilliant way to handle it.
And one last thing on this, the voice itself. Instead of it just appearing, you hear a soft voice, which feels a little external.
Right. It can be jarring.
We need to soften its arrival. Describe it as an internal phenomenon, something like an accumulation of stillness, or maybe a thought rising easily from the calm. The goal is to make it sound like the listener's own wisdom.
So the command let go becomes completely internal, non-threatening. I love that.
It ensures that full psychological surrender.
Okay, so for our final critique, let's look at the very beginning. Maximizing immediate immersion by reframing that opening setup. Because if we lose the listener in the first few seconds, nothing else matters.
Immersion is everything in the first 30 seconds. If someone has pressed play, they want to be in it, not told about it.
And the opening lines, tonight's story is about a train, they delay that immersion. They're a little too instructional for this kind of script.
It's a classic meta description. It works for a normal story, but for hypnotic work, we want to skip the setup, plunge them right in. I wonder if we've considered just collapsing that meta description entirely.
So we eliminate the preamble, we don't tell the listener what the story is, we just
Start the story itself.
start it in media res at the most peaceful point possible.
The platform.
The script already has that great line, you stand on a small wooden platform, the air is cool and calm. That could be line 1.
Exactly. It's sensory, immediate, grounding. That's your new opening.
But how do we convey the exclusivity of the train? That whole idea that it arrives only at midnight for the people who need rest the most. That was such a strong narrative element.
We convey it through atmosphere and tone, not through instruction. The silence, the coolness of the air, the fact that you're alone on the platform, that implies exclusivity.
So we show, we don't tell.
Let's think about an option here. We begin immediately with, you stand on a small wooden platform. The air is cool and calm. Crickets hum softly. Then the arrival. The description is already fantastic. A silver train slides into the station, silent and smooth.
And that implies it's the train, the special one.
Yes, the fact that it's silver and silent and arrives in the dead of night tells the listener everything they need to know, but subliminally, it makes the train feel mythical.
That's a huge improvement. It raises the emotional stakes right away, because you're in the scenario, not being told about it. It just respects the listener's intelligence.
Or, another option, you could start with the feeling of the listener's own exhaustion being recognized. Something like, for the people who need rest the most, feel the air cool and calm around you. It still jumps right in, but validates their reason for being there.
And this strategy of starting in media res also lets us use the train's name more strategically later on.
Absolutely. Instead of introducing it at the start, we save the midnight train for the final moments of surrender. Maybe it's the very last thing you hear before the sleep suggestion.
So it reinforces that the story has achieved its goal. It names the vehicle that brought the peace.
It ties the whole experience together. It makes the name feel earned, not just announced.
The name becomes the closing mantra itself. So the key takeaway here is just to respect that need for instant engagement. Instructional preambles create distance, but immediate sensory immersion, that creates connection.
That's it exactly.
Okay, this has been a really rich critique for the Midnight Train to Rest. Let's just quickly recap the actionable suggestions.
For sure, we had three main areas. First, digging deeper into those non-visual senses. So using specific kinesthetic cues, that feeling of sinking, of heaviness, and adding some subtle olfactory grounding, like that ghost of cedar wood.
Right, to guarantee that physical surrender. And second, we talked about smoothing the transition into the core let go mantra.
Yes, extending that period of rhythmic calm and using the scenery to pre-echo the idea of no destination, so the final directive feels like an internal realization.
And finally, we just talked about maximizing immediate immersion by dropping that initial setup. Start right on the platform with the sensation and save the powerful name, the Midnight Train, for that final anchoring moment.
The material is already very strong. It creates this lovely, quiet world.
It really is. These suggestions are just aimed at tightening that structure and deepening the immersion to make sure it's exceptionally effective at what it's trying to do.
We think these adjustments will transform it from a beautiful concept into a highly efficient delivery mechanism for deep, restorative sleep.
We would be delighted to see your revisions based on these points. Please feel free to send the revised version of the Midnight Train to Rest back to us anytime for a follow-up. Thank you for submitting your work.